These are the best CRO split tests to run for your e-commerce brand to drive massive revenue. By the way, if you're wondering how I know that these are the best CRO split tests to run, my name is Arsh and I'm the founder at ThrillX, and I run a conversion rate optimization firm based out of Canada. Our team has worked with over 80 plus e-commerce brands and generated tens of millions of dollars in incremental revenue for our clients. We work with clients who are at the early stages of growth who are just looking to scale and grow, as well as clients that get substantial traffic to their website per month in the range of 300 to 400K visitors. Okay, so the first important split test to run, and this is extremely easy to set up, yet very high leverage and high ROI, is what we call the homepage hero section test. Now, there's a couple different things we want to test when we test a homepage hero section. We're looking at a crystal clear value proposition above the fold, so within the hero section. We're looking at social proof above the fold, so things like reviews, testimonials, featured publications, that should be visible in your hero section. We want to have a crystal clear call to action button that's large and identifiable that sends people further down the funnel into the collection page or into the product page. And we also want to have very clear visual hierarchy, which means from top to bottom, is it easy to digest the information? Now, the reason the homepage hero section is super critical is, number one, most people neglect this, right? It's very underrated. Most people focus on the add to cart, the product page, the checkout, all further down the funnel. The funny thing is, when we audit our clients' websites and we're looking at an e-commerce brand from scratch, we look at the full funnel. We're looking at how many people view a product, how many people add to cart, and how many people check out. And 90 to 95% of e-commerce brands are under-indexed and underperforming on the view product rate. That is the percentage of people that land on the website and actually view a product. This rate should be at 50 to 70%. 9 times out of 10 when we audit a brand, we see this anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40%, right? So it's under indexed and it's under the benchmark. That's why the homepage section is super important. The reason I have this website open is because this is an example of a section that doesn't nail those principles down. And this is often what we see when we actually audit sites, right? So you have this hero section here, which 60% of people will never scroll past, right? Statistically, they're never going to see your product information, all of your value props underneath. 60% never scroll past. So right off the bat, value prop is not really clear. I can barely read the text. The offer is not clear. There's a lot of elements going on in the page. The call to action button is not crystal clear as well. Versus if you compare it to this website, you have a crystal clear value prop, right? Emergency fire blanket stops fire in its tracks, right? Who you are, what you do, what's in it for me, 5 seconds or less. You have a call to action button that's super prominent and clear and really incentivizes action with get prepared today. And you have all of the other facets of a high converting hero section. So when you execute this test for yourself, which I'll show you how to set up shortly, you want to think about, number one, your headline. What is that core benefit, right? Can you articulate who you are, what you do, what's in it for me in 5 seconds or less? The last part is the most important, the what's in it for me, right? What's that tangible benefit I gain from your product? Then the body text should reinforce that core value prop. So great example here, feel prepared and stay calm with their full suite of emergency preparedness solutions, right? It reinforces that headline, clear call to action button, something that stands out on the page. And then you have your social proof section right underneath it. So I'm going to show you how you can actually set up the test within FIGP. FIGP is an A/B testing platform. You can use any A/B testing platform. There's a ton out there, but FIGP is the one that we use at our agency because it's the easiest one to set up. The pricing is also super affordable, but again, you can use any sort of platform that you want. The setup here with FIGP, when you log in, you're going to have to create an account, and then you'll also have to install FIGP on your site. So there's a tracking code that you can install. Basically, you just have to copy paste the code into your Shopify theme files. It's relatively simple to do. I'll leave a link in the description with some thorough documentation from FIGP, but it should take no more than 5 minutes. Once you copy over that code, what you want to do is inside of the main dashboard, this is where you can access your test. So you're going to go to A/B testing over here, and we're just going to create a test over here. So this is just a test account. So we'll just say A/B test number 1, type of experiment. So you can choose between an A/B test or a split URL test. In this case, we want to do an A/B test. The split URL test is used for, landing page tests. If you want to send traffic to 2 separate URLs, device and visitor, you can choose between your devices. We're going to select all. Visitor type, we're also going to select all. For the targeting here, this is where you're actually going to put in your URL. So let me just grab that here. And in this case, we're going to be targeting the homepage, right? Since we're doing a hero section test. So this is just an example, but you can put in your, website URL over here. For the goals, this part, you want to set up a conversion metric. So what you're going to do is, let's just call this goal conversions. We're going to set this to page view and contains, right? And we want to track the pages that have thank you. So thank_you, right? And that's going to track people that reach that page. Effectively, they're, purchasing on the website, and it's going to track that as a conversion metric, right? So now there's more intricate tracking capabilities within FIGP. This documentation here is super helpful into how to set it up. This is actually the recommended approach is, hard coding in the event or trigger. Again, it's super simple if you actually follow the steps here. It's not overly complicated, but again, I'll provide a link in the description on how to set this up properly through custom pixels in Shopify. But this will, suffice for now. As an intermediary, this will get the job done. And the last thing here now, we're going to want to set up the variation. So when I click on the variations tab, I'm going to click on add variation, and it's going to open up the homepage here. So once we have the homepage opened up, it's going to look something like this, right? Your website would be here. And now what we can actually do is we can play around with all of the text within here and actually edit the code, right? So if you can see, all of these are set up in different blocks, right? So if you want to A/B test, let's just say the headline. If you use Google Optimize, it's going to be very similar to that. You just want to click on this headline here and then click on edit element. I'm going to uncheck this box right here. And now I can just put in whatever text I want within wherever you see the text for your headline, right? So let's say I want to add in, we'll just say test for now, right? Test headline. So I'm going to remove the text here and then put test headline. And then you just want to click on preview, right? And then okay, perfect. So now we have the test headline. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the body text. I'm going to click here, edit element. And again, I can just put test body text, and we're going to go preview, perfect, and then click OK. So now we have the body text. And the last thing is the image, right? So we're going to want to test an image. Ideally, this image reinforces your core value proposition. So it should be relevant to the value prop. So I'm going to click on the image itself and then click on edit element. And I'm going to uncheck this box here. So it looks like we have the wrong element selected. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to just click on the background here and then click on edit element. And what you might have to do is you might have to click on get parent to get the parent element. So there we go. Now the image pops up here, right? This is the image I want. And now I can just simply click uncheck this box. Now you're going to see a bunch of code here. All you have to do is basically just swap out the image itself. So wherever you see the URL, for example, this is the, if I copy paste this URL into a new tab, it's going to open up the image, right? So you just have to replace that with your Shopify URL. So you just upload the image in the backend of Shopify. If you go to files and you just copy paste that link here, and then anywhere else you see the source, the old link, right? And then you just click on OK. And the last thing you can also do is the styling. So like if I click on the shop now button, I can click edit element. I can adjust the text of that CTA button, which is what you're going to want to do. But you can also click on this and then click on change style. And over here, I can adjust things like the font size. I can adjust the font weight, the font style. So this is where you're going to want to make the button more prominent on the page, but we already have it done for this client, so we're not going to do it again. And then once you're done with all of your changes, you're going to go here in the bottom right and then click on save and continue, right? So that's going to load up your main dashboard again. And now we're pretty much good to go, right? So we have the variation here. This is the new variation that we just created. We have the original. You can set up the traffic split. So, by default, it's going to be 50-50. And as soon as you're ready to go, you're just going to click save and launch and your test is live. So now I'm going to share an actual real life example of an A/B test that we ran for a client specifically for the homepage hero section and the actual results at the very end as well. So what we did for this client was this is the before version of their homepage hero section, right? Basically all of the common pitfalls that I mentioned earlier. When you look at the value proposition, it says hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? So they're a gas mask respirator company. So it didn't really communicate what their core value prop is. You have the shop gas mask now CTA, which is kind of very subtle. It's not prominent on the page. It doesn't really stand out on desktop particularly. And there's no social proof here, right? There's no reviews, there's no testimonials to kind of build that immediate trust and credibility to get me to click the shop now button or facilitate scroll through interaction with the website and further engagement, right? That's not really here at the moment. moment. This is how the mobile view looked. So very similar pitfalls, right? You have lack of value prop, no social proof above the fold, and all of those facets of a high converting hero section are missing from mobile. Now, the big thing that was also relevant on mobile, the main issue, was that there was a lack of visual hierarchy. When you look at the gas mask now CTA, the shop gas mask now, and you look at the trust badges underneath it, so you have free shipping, secure shopping, etc., those are both given the same visual treatment. In other words, both of those are red. So if I was to blur out this entire page, right, and I was to ask you what is the core call to action button on this website, you probably would not be able to tell me, right? All of the elements are competing with one another. And so it's not really clear what the core call to action button is. Now, if you compare that to the after version, so here's the fundamental improvements we made to the revamped hero section. The most notable improvement is the value proposition. So now you can see it's way more clear and benefit driven, right? Before we had hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Now the value prop that we went for was protection you can rely on to keep safe, right? What we actually do is we don't only look at quantitative data for our CRO clients. We go super deep, right? We look at everything. We look at the holistic funnel. We also do qualitative data and qualitative research. So what we did was we looked at all of the Amazon reviews. We put them together in a central spreadsheet, and we tried to figure out what is the main topic across all of these reviews. So the one thing that was frequently mentioned across all of the reviews for their products was the protection aspect, right? And so we want to re-inject that value prop back into their messaging. What are customers saying? What's the voice of the customer? Can we re-leverage that inside of our messaging itself? Body text is also crystal clear, right? Secure protective gear with a snug fit that seals to any face size, filters out toxins, fog-free visibility, and comfortable for long hours. We've beautifully conveyed the value prop in literally a matter of 1 to 2 sentences. And again, this is all customer driven, right? We actually interviewed customers. We actually did review mining, and these were all the things that customers mentioned as pain points, right? How does the product fit? What does it filter out? Will it fog up? And how comfortable it is? And we tried to address all of those pain points and anxieties in the messaging itself. Big change we made as well to the call to action button, as you can see, is a nice, clear call to action button, right? If you compare the before again, this is what it was before. Super small, very hard to see. This button, you can't miss, right? It's the small things that make a huge difference. And the last thing we did for this test was we added social proof above the fold. So we added in the 370,000 plus customers that were protected. You can swap this out for whatever's relevant to you, like reviews or testimonials. And this is the mobile version. So again, visual hierarchy, how people read from top to bottom, it's a lot more clear now. So now for the results, after running this A/B test, we saw a 64.26% increase in the conversion rate, and we saw a 52% increase in the revenue per user. So not only did more people convert, but the average order value also increased substantially, and the revenue per user as a byproduct, because of the fact that the messaging was a lot more clear, that resonated with people throughout the website. And we're also building trust immediately with the customers protected, right? So people were more likely to convert. Here's another example. So with this client, they sell medical products, and this was their old website, right? So their old hero section. You have customized nursing kits. The image looks very stock. It doesn't really reinforce the core value prop. And again, the same common pitfall with the CTA button, send kit contents, doesn't really stand out on the page. It's not very prominent at all. We revamped their hero section with a way more improved value prop. So instead of just one line saying customized nursing kits, you're a reliable and trusted source for nursing supplies, right? So we're highlighting the reliability, the trusted source aspect. And again, it's benefit driven. It's answering the question of what's in it for me. We follow that up with the body text that then reinforces that core value prop. So we're saying enjoy a personalized and stress-free experience with quick response times, on-time delivery, and a trusted partner who will go the extra mile for all your medical supply needs, right? Again, beautifully done in 1 to 2 sentences, hitting on all of those points that really makes the company different from other competitors in the market. And when you look at the CTA buttons, again, it stands out a lot more against this background. You have one clear call to action, and then you have a secondary CTA. We didn't get a chance to do social proof for Pristine because they didn't have any reviews at the time to leverage. But even then, this test performed super well. We saw an 83% increase in conversions just from this A/B test alone. So the second A/B test or split test that I highly recommend running is what we call the navigation menu test. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I spoke about how the biggest area of improvement for most Shopify brands, for 90 to 95% of Shopify brands that we audit, is the actual view product rate, right? It's not the add to cart, it's not the checkout, which most people think. It's actually people viewing the product. That is where people are under indexed or underperforming when we actually analyze their funnel. And so there's no better way to improve the view product rate than actually optimizing the navigation menu itself, where majority of people will use that menu to access different parts of the website. So what we see, in majority of navigation menus is something similar to this website here, right? You just have your text items, simple text, drop down menus to access different collection pages. And I actually have to go into the collection page, for example, this collection here for birthday flowers, and I have to scroll down and then select my respective product in order to access that product page itself, right? So I have to go collection first, then product. The second thing is all I see here is text, right? There's nothing really engaging. There's nothing exciting about this, right? It doesn't really facilitate a desired action versus something which is what I would actually recommend split testing, is adding icons and images to your navigation menu through the use of drop downs to actually facilitate higher engagement and thus more people viewing products and more people adding to cart, and ultimately more people purchasing and converting on your website. So we ran this as a split test for our client, and I'll show you an actual example where over here, right, we had the main navigation. So this is what the before looked like. Again, just like that other reference site, it's just text driven. You have to click on a collection page first, right? These are all collection pages in order to access a product, right? But there's nothing engaging. There's nothing exciting about this. Versus this is the after version that we A/B tested for this client, where we, number one, made the navigation menu much larger. So you can see the font size is much larger here. We also removed and added a couple navigation items. So we got rid of the home tab on the navigation. And this is a big mistake I see with e-commerce sites. Your goal is conversions, right? That's ultimately your goal. So any action that detracts from that conversion action should be removed from your navigation menu. Now, the thing with home is that most people these days on e-commerce sites, they're very used to that interaction of clicking on the logo in the top left and accessing the home menu through there. So paradox of choice, if you give people too much choice, it equals no choice at all. You can just get rid of the home menu 9 times out of 10 and just focus your actions on your conversion actions itself, right? The second big thing, and this is a huge one, is adding a bestsellers tab to your navigation. Just put yourself in the shoes of a new user, right? I'm coming to a store for the first time. I know nothing about the brand. I don't know anything about the products. Naturally, I'm going to want to purchase products that other people have already purchased, that I know other people have purchased, right? So bestsellers is such a low-hanging fruit and such a big win that you can just add that to your navigation menu. And if I don't know anywhere else to go on your site, I'm just going to click on bestsellers and go down to that collection page, right? Because it's already validated through social proof. I know other people are purchasing those products as well. And the third big thing that we did to the navigation as part of this test is we added images, right? So again, people just don't resonate with text on its own. People are visual creatures. They like to see images. They like to see icons. That's typically how they resonate with the website. So we added images of the product itself and separated everything through drop downs, right? And we did that for all of their core products. So now this just motivates me and gives me another reason to actually engage and click on the site, much more so than just text on its own. This is what the tests look like on mobile. So again, we have all of the nav items. I can click into each of these. And again, we have the product image visible, so it's giving me a reason to actually click into the product. And the big thing is I can access the products directly, right? I don't have to go through a collection page anymore, right? I can just access it directly through here. So we ran this A/B test with 2 variations. Variation 1 was just the product image as I just showed you when I was sharing screen. And variation 2 was where we showed the product image and we also showed the price and the reviews itself within the test experience. This A/B test, variation 1 and variation 2 both outperformed the original. Variation 1 won by 60.72%. There was a 60.72% increase in conversions just from this one A/B test alone at a 99% chance to win. And variation 2 had a 29% increase in conversions at a 94% chance to win. When we actually look at the revenue per user went through the roof with a 91% increase in variation 1 and a 91% increase also in variation 2. And the AOV numbers both increased with an 18% increase in variation 1 and a 48.36% increase in variation 2. So super simple hypothesis, which is just that we prefer to see images as opposed to text. It gets people over the edge. It actually gets them to actually, view the product in the first rate. And it's just a more engaging experience, right? Especially if you're like an apparel company, you're selling jewelry, really any product, people prefer to see what the product looks like. So the next A/B test or split test that we highly recommend running is a product page test. And specifically, there's this concept in conversion rate optimization called FUDs, which stands for fear, uncertainty, doubts. And your goal is to try and reduce that as much as possible near the critical point of action, which on an e-commerce site is, the add to cart button, right? That's going to be the critical point of action. Now, when we look at this website here, you can see that this is a $60 product. You have one-time purchase, subscribe and save, and then you have your add to cart action over here. Now, the issue with this is that there's no reduction of FUDs whatsoever, right? Think about all the fear and uncertainty that you have naturally when you yourself purchase a product online, right? You're thinking about, can I return the product? What if I don't like the product? What happens if I have an issue with it? Who can I go to? What does the shipping look like for the product? Will it even ship in time if I need it for a specific date? What does the shipping amount actually look like when I add this to cart? All of those questions and uncertainties you have, that needs to be addressed upfront, right? Near the add to cart button. Now, right now at the moment, it's not being addressed whatsoever. The second thing that goes hand in hand, and this leads into the split test that we recommend running, is also adding trust and credibility. Typically, as a general rule of thumb, the higher priced your product is, the more credibility and trust you have to build with users to go and purchase that product, right? $60 is not super cheap. And, you're better safe than sorry. It always helps with conversions when you build that additional trust again near the critical point of action. So when you look at iRestore Laser as an example, they do those two things very, very well, right? Number one, on their product page, they have the FUDs, reduction of FUDs, 12-month money-back guarantee, free shipping, and 3-year warranty. So 12-month money-back guarantee. If I have an issue with the product, this basically resolves all of those anxieties and stress around that. I know that I can return this back and get my money back in 12 months. Free shipping, again, if I add this product to cart, this completely reduces that anxiety around what is the shipping cost. And if I run into an issue with the product in the future, now I know that they have a 3-year warranty, right? So it gets me over the edge. It actually motivates me now to then subsequently click add to cart. The trust aspect as well is highlighted here with the 271 medical providers have recently shared this product with their patients, right? So it's building that extra layer of credibility and trust. And you can see it's not a cheap product, right? It's $1,800. So again, as a general rule of thumb, the higher your product is priced, the more trust and credibility you have to build and the more reduction of FUDs you have to do. But for most e-commerce brands, this is a no-brainer A/B test to run because naturally, if I come to your website, I'm going to want to see those things up front. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you my credit card information. So here's an example of an A/B test we ran for a client. This was the before version here on the left. So you could see there's the product, you have your value props, you have your bundles, add to cart, and then see why people love it. No real reduction of FUDs here. It's kind of your basic traditional product page. So what we did was we have all of the same above the fold, right? Everything is the same. The big difference, if I put this side by side, is we added the trust aspect. So with this client, a lot of people were not that receptive to the price. They thought it was too expensive, even though it's a lower price product relative to alternatives in the market. It was still higher price. And so that was, people got sticker shock from looking at the price. We tried to build trust immediately before presenting the price. So we added in this section here where we're saying 150,000 units have been sold. We're adding images. So this is actually a carousel of the product being used. And then we have videos of people using the product, right? So ton of social proof right before actually showing the price here. And then what we did subsequently was we reduced the FUDs underneath the add to cart. So we added a testimonial. We added 3 90-day returns. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, let us know. We'll give you your money back. And we also highlighted the free shipping over $45, money back guarantee. And we took it a step further and we also added FAQs, right? These are FAQs about the product. So tons and tons of reduction of FUDs and adding trust and credibility. And here are the results from the A/B test. So for the results of the test, we ran this test with all of those incremental improvements, adding the review placement, adding the reduction of FUDs, the drop downs, the guaranteed, all of those different elements. What we saw was a 25% increase in conversions. This is a screenshot from the FIGP dashboard itself. So variation 1 had a 25% increase in conversions at a 99% chance to win. And what we also saw was a 34% increase in the revenue per user, which is huge, and a 7% increase in the average order value, right? So needless to say, this generated a huge incremental revenue lift for our client. And this is just one example, but we've easily seen uplifts of 80 to 100 to 120% or more just from running this A/B test on the product pages. The next big A/B test or split test you can run is a search bar test, right? So if you look at this website here, what you have is a search menu that's kind of hidden underneath this magnifying glass. And when I go to mobile view here as well, you can see that the search menu is just once again, a magnifying glass in the top right. When we actually look at analytics, we look at Google Analytics, we look at Shopify, or sometimes if our clients are using an external app for their search, which is actually recommended, what we find is that the search experience, people that actually search on a website can convert anywhere from 3 to 6 to 8x more than a normal person coming to the website that doesn't use a search, right? Because they already know what they're looking for, right? There's a handful of people that know what they're looking for. And so they're going to click on that search experience to facilitate that action, right? And look for a product. There's also people that don't know anything about the brand at all, right? A new visitor comes from a Facebook ad or they're coming from SEO. They come to your website. They don't know where to start their experience. And so that search bar, when you have it exposed, it actually incentivizes them to search for a product and go further down that funnel, right? So it's such a simple thing, but the concept is very simple in that when you hide something, it's less likely to be interacted with. So when you hide the search action within a magnifying glass, people are less likely to search. So here's an example of an A/B test where this is the before, right? This was just a simple magnifying glass where people would have to click on this to then enter to the search experience. But what we found, and our hypothesis was driven from, was the fact that people who searched were converting at a much, much higher rate than people that didn't search, right? And we also saw the other part of the hypothesis was that the view product rate was very low on the site. So what we did was we simply just added in a search bar that was exposed on mobile and desktop. And the second thing that we did was we also added rotating text. Now, this is the thing that most people don't do, and it's super, super high leverage. We're actually rotating the text and giving the user a prompt to say, search for this product, right? And the cool thing about this is once you start getting people searching, you could use your own data and basically leverage that and reinfuse that back into your search bar. So for example, you can look at your search data and see that these are the top things that people are searching for. Now you just re-inject that back into your search menu, right? Because those are things that other people might also be looking for. Or if you're running a certain promotion or sale, you could switch out that placeholder text to be relevant for that specific product. The main premise though, again, is that we're not hiding the search inside of a menu. Now as I scroll down on the site, I go to any product, I have this menu front and center, top of mind, and we saw a ton more people view the product, but also a huge increase in the conversions and roughly a 42% increase in the revenue per user just from this A/B test alone. We did the same thing for Pristine Medical where we added an exposed search bar menu and prompting the user, what are you looking for, right? And these guys have a ton of products, so naturally it made sense to have the search bar front and center, especially on mobile and not hidden behind a magnifying glass. Really recommend you try out this test and see for yourself. For our next A/B test, this one is something that everyone can implement, right? And it's a very simple principle called the paradox of choice. When you give people too much choice, it equals no choice at all, right? So people get decision paralysis when they see too many options, see too many things to choose from. they either end up exiting the site or not even performing an action at all. And that's exactly what we saw with our client, where they had bundle options on their product page, right? So they had these 5 bundles here, which I'll open up, right? So this was the before, that a 1-pack, 2-pack, 3-pack, 5-pack, and a 10-pack. And what we saw through Hotjar and through Microsoft Clarity was people would either choose the lower priced option, so they would choose the 1-pack or the 2-pack, or they would exit the website straight away as soon as they saw this section, right? We saw this through user recordings. So very simple hypothesis. What we did was we cut down from 5 bundle options to 3. So we went 1-pack, 3-pack, 5-pack. And what we saw from that was a 53% lift in conversions and a 13.5% increase in the average order value. So not only were more people purchasing the product, but they were also going for the higher priced option, which in this case was the 3-pack instead of the 1-pack, right? And they saw a 72% increase in the revenue per user. So super huge test, and such a simple one as well, just cutting down from 5 to 3 options. So here's another example, right? This was an audit we actually did for one of our clients, and we were looking at their Clarity data and seeing where people are clicking on their product page. Now, this is their product page here. So this is a screenshot, and this is their add to cart, right? And this was a report that we put together for them. Now, the thing was that the vast majority of elements in and around this add to cart button, people weren't even clicking on, right? For example, the buy with Shopify Pay got 0% of clicks. The quantity selector, the wish list, that also got 0% of clicks. This bottom navigation menu got 0.02% of clicks, right? So there's so much clutter around the page that people didn't even know what to do, right? They didn't even add to cart in the first place. And so that's the thing you want to do. It's very low hanging fruit. All you got to do is install a tool like Clarity or Hotjar, see where people are clicking on your site, and simply just test removing the amount of clutter in and around that element, right? So all those clickable elements we got rid of, and instead we just added the fundamentals that were needed for the add to cart. So one clear button, reduction of FUDs, right? Testimonial right there, and then value prop driven sections above the fold, but also a huge increase in the conversions and roughly a 42% increase in the revenue per user just from this A/B test alone. A/B test or split test is this notion that people don't read, they scan, right? So often on websites, when you see those large blocks of text, the main thing you have to understand is that statistically, people will only read 20% of the content on a website, right? Actually read the content. The other 80% of the content, they just scan. And so this kind of goes hand in hand with this idea that humans are visual creatures, right? They love seeing visuals. They love seeing images. The human brain processes images a lot faster than they do process text, right? So one simple test is, number one, your thumbnails, right? For your product thumbnails, don't use little circles or pagination, just expose the thumbnails, right? Actually show the images. For example, this one here, where we actually show the images over here. When we run the split test, right? Pagination versus the little circles versus actual images itself, we've seen anywhere from 40 to 50% increase in conversions, if not more in some instances. And the second test is removing your big blocks of text, right? This is the before version where we have this large block of text, right? Where majority of people don't read it, they skim by it, and they actually don't scroll past it either, right? You can verify this through Hotjar or Clarity. Now, if you look at the after version, what we did was instead of those large blocks of text, we added in the actual icons itself, right? Scannable icons, value prop driven icons, and we saw a 33% increase in conversions from this A/B test, right? Just a simple one, just converting the text into scannable icons. So the last A/B test or split test that you could run on your site is implementing a sliding cart menu instead of just the default cart, and specifically upselling and cross-selling people within the sliding cart menu. If you look at this website here, when I click add to cart, they do a big sin, which is just this little notification here in the top right that something's been added to cart. Doesn't really give me immediate feedback that something been added. And when I actually click on the cart menu itself, they have the you may also like and the subtotal, but nothing else outside of that. There's so much opportunity within the cart menu itself that's not being leveraged whatsoever. Here's another example, right? When I actually add a product to cart over here, all you have is the product, your cart, plus or remove the product and then checkout. And checkout itself is not even like a prominent checkout button, right? So much missed opportunity just within this cart experience. This is kind of like your default Shopify cart menu, which doesn't really do you any good. So what you want to do instead is actually add in a sliding cart and test this sliding cart menu on your website. So for example, when I click add to cart here, what it's going to do is add a product to cart, and now I can cross-sell and upsell people within the cart, which is step number 1. Step number 2 is adding in this actual shipping threshold here, right? This is a huge AOV play, right? You can add in a threshold and you can really experiment with this threshold as well. Look at your average order value and base your shipping amount on that, right? So if I add another $20, I can reach free shipping. So it's going to incentivize me to then add in another product to my cart. And what you can also do is you can test free gifts within the shipping threshold as well. So one step above the shipping threshold could be like a free gift that I unlock if I add X to my cart, right? And it really gets people to get to those higher AOV levels, anywhere from like 18 to 30%. And it'll always depend on what the gift you're offering is, right? Here's actually an example where we've tested this a ton for this client, where we've actually added in different gifts. We've actually tested the gifts itself, like different gifts that we can offer to clients, different shipping threshold itself. And so what we've done here, you can see this is actually powered through an app called Rebuy, which I highly recommend installing. So you have your free shipping over $30 and you can see the threshold, right? And then the free product itself is at $90 plus, right? And it's telling you clearly here that you've got free shipping, right? So very much an AOV play, but also a conversion play as well, because you're trying to get, a more streamlined experience and you're giving people direct feedback that something's been added to cart, which is a much better user experience than what we saw on that other website here, which was just a little pop-up on the top right. The other thing you should be testing is adding in reduction of FUDs to your cart menu itself. So if you look at this example here, what they've done in the cart menu is they've actually added in the 12-month money back guarantee underneath the checkout button, right? This gets people over the edge to actually convert. You can do things like adding in reviews, testimonials, feature publications, etc., typically near that checkout button. Here's actually an example that we did for our cannabis client. So on their product page, when you click add to cart, all of those principles I just spoke about, 3,000 plus reviews and badges underneath the checkout button. So we have quality products, secure checkout, safe and reliable delivery, right? This was an A/B test that we ran for this client and saw a huge increase in the revenue per user and the conversions, right? Because it's getting people over the edge to actually convert on the website. These are the best CRO split tests for any e-commerce brand. Now, I know what you're thinking, Arsh, this all seems great, but this also seems super overwhelming. And you're right, it can be. But here's the thing, even if you implement just one of the A/B tests that I shared today, you can see a substantial increase in your conversion rate almost immediately. Now, remember that 64% increase in conversions just from that simple navigation test, or that 74% increase in revenue per user just by cutting down the bundles from 5 to 3? That is all revenue that could be flowing into your brand right now. So you've got two options from here. You can take all of the learnings from this video and start testing on your own. And hey, if you have the resources and availability, more power to you. Or if you want to fast track your results and avoid the common pitfalls, you can work with our team and I at ThrillX. We know what works. We can implement these tests and more specifically tailored to your brand. If you're interested in squeezing every last conversion out of your existing traffic on your website, click the link in the description below to book a free 30-minute audit where we'll do a deep dive into your entire website and give you personalized strategies and tips. And hey, even if you're not ready for that today, make sure to subscribe to our channel because we'll be releasing videos related to CRO every single week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.